20 doctors fail to save a billionaire, then a black housekeeper discovers an incredible secret. Rachel woke up that fateful Monday to the sound of her children's laughter, a sound that warmed her heart even as exhaustion clung to her. At 35, she had learned to cherish those moments, especially in a neighborhood where hope often felt distant. She swiftly prepared breakfast, her eyes flickering to the clock. She needed to leave for work. Walter Ashwood's penthouse awaited her. Her heart felt heavy as she descended the subway steps, the city's pulse vibrating through her bones. The whispers, thick and laden with desperation, had begun to swirl about Walter's failing health. 20 doctors, 20 had declared him beyond saving. Such news sent shockwaves through upscale Manhattan. Walter, a titan of industry, was now a tragic figure. This was the reality of their worlds. Rachel fought for each meal while Walter fought an unseen battle of his own. As she entered the opulent penthouse, Rachel's routine was overshadowed by a collective mourning in the air. Walter's grandeur was marred by a stark loneliness, a gilded cage suffocating him more each day. They exchanged tired pleasantries, mere shadows of connection. She dusted off crystal chandeliers and polished furniture, her heart heavy with unfulfilled aspirations. But today was different. While arranging a cluttered shelf, Rachel stumbled across a hidden door off-limits yet too curious to resist. Inside, she found a treasure trove of Walter's past, aged photographs, letters spilling secrets, and journals that unveiled a vulnerable soul. Each artifact painted a different picture of Walter, the boy who chased dreams while wrestling with the world's harsh judgments. Tears stung her eyes as she read a letter where he spoke about battling societal expectations, his heart yearning for acceptance. Rachel felt a connection, a tether that pulled her thoughts towards her own struggles. In those pages, she saw reflections of her never-ending fight for her children, the dreams she held onto tightly even as they felt impossibly distant. This was more than just a story of a wealthy man, it was a saga soaked in humanity, fraught with indescribable pain, hope, and resilience. Walter's life mirrored her own in so many ways. Before she could spiral into contemplation, she remembered the urgency of her own community. Would sharing Walter's story shake the rigid perceptions held by neighbors who looked down on the wealthy? She had a choice to make. But as Rachel contemplated writing about Walter, a sudden thought struck her: what if it could inspire others? This was a narrative that could redefine success, shining a light on shared humanity. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As whispers of her discovery spread like wildfire, Rachel found herself at the heart of a shifting community narrative. Conversations sparked in the vibrant barbershops and crowded community centers, where dreams mingled with reflections on social judgment. People listened intently, faced with the realization that life was not as black and white as they'd presumed, learning to find common ground in their struggles, but glimmers of hope brought their own complications. Questions arose. Would revealing Walter's truth honor him or expose him? Would his estranged family support or oppose her efforts? Doubts clawed at her resolve. Just as she prepared to take a step forward, an unexpected phone call sent a shiver down her spine. A family member wanted to meet. Rachel's heart raced. A world of complexities awaited her. Would she find the strength to forge ahead, to navigate the ties that bind them all, and perhaps alter the course of their lives forever? Rachel sat on the edge of her bed later that evening, her hands trembling slightly as she stared at her phone. The screen glowed back at her, a reminder of the unknown. The call had cut through her day, leaving her in a swirl of anxiety and determination. Who was this family member, and what did they want? Did they know about her discoveries? Would they be friend or foe? She took a deep breath, trying to calm the rhythms of her racing heart. Her children played in the next room, their laughter filling the air, a sweet balm that battled the tension swirling inside her. "Mommy! Come play with us." Holly's bright voice broke through, and Rachel felt a smile stretching across her face. They were her motivation, the reason she fought each day for a better life, for dreams within reach, but now, there was Walter. Was he worth the risk? Did he still deserve the chance for his story to be told? She couldn't afford to ignore him. If she kept diving into his life, maybe his journey could offer strength to her own community. The idea danced in her mind, people sharing insights, fighting for their own worth, breaking free from the labels that chained them. Pushing herself off the bed, Rachel resolved to prepare for the meeting. She needed to gather her thoughts. What did she want to say? Would they be open to talking about Walter's truth? The next day arrived hazy and gray, matching the cloud of uncertainty perched over her. Sitting at a modest cafe, she fidgeted with her coffee cup. The warmth seeped through her fingers, grounding her even as her mind raced with possibilities. Then, the door chimed, cutting through her preoccupations. A tall figure slipped inside. Rachel's breath caught. It was Timothy, Walter's estranged nephew. He hadn't inherited a penny of the Ashwood fortune, and whispers told stories of a feud as cold as the winter wind. His eyes flicked towards her, alarm morphing into recognition. He approached, his demeanor guarded but curious. "You're the housekeeper," Timothy stated, a knot of confusion threading through his tone. Rachel nodded, heart pounding. "I am." "Rachel. I didn't expect to see you here," he said as he eased into the seat opposite hers. "Neither did I, but I have some things to discuss," she said softly, feeling the weight of her words. She quickly glanced down, contemplating her first move. "I found something about your uncle." Timothy frowned, suspicion flickering across his face. "What do you mean?" Rachel swallowed hard. This was at the moment everything could shift for better or worse. "Walter has a story, Timothy. It's not what you think. It's painful and beautiful, filled with struggles that could connect us all." He continued to stare, his expression unreadable. "Why should I care? He's dead to me." Rachel leaned in, her voice a whisper filled with urgency. "Because this story could heal. It could bring people together in ways you can't even imagine." Timothy's eyes narrowed, wrestling with doubt and curiosity. "And how do you plan to do that?" "I'm hoping to write about him," Rachel admitted, her heart racing at the implication of those words. "But I need your help. I need your perspective." She waited, every second stretching into eternity. Timothy glanced around as if deciding whether to trust her. Would he walk away? Would he embrace her quest? Then his mouth curved into a half-smile, a flicker of warmth breaking the ice. "You might be crazy, you know," but before he could finish, Rachel's phone buzzed on the table. A message from Walter's hospital. Her stomach dropped. What if this was news about his condition? She quickly checked, and a lump formed in her throat. "It says he has taken a turn for the worse." It felt like everything was cresting high above them, teetering on the brink. How would she navigate Walter's legacy, his family's opposition, and her community's need for something greater? Rachel's heart raced as she met Timothy's gaze, left feeling a mix of urgency and hope. Could Walter's story be changed? And if it could, at what cost? Timothy's expression shifted, the flicker of warmth extinguished by urgency. His eyes widened as he processed Rachel's words. "What? Are you serious? We need to go to him now." Rachel nodded, gathering her things in a frantic motion. The cafe, once a sanctuary of quiet thoughts, felt like an echo chamber of their racing hearts. "I agree. If there's a chance to reach him, we can't waste any time." They stepped outside, the brisk air biting at their faces. Rachel glanced at Timothy, wondering what thoughts brewed behind his guarded demeanor. The weight of their shared purpose felt surreal. Here they were, two strangers united by a man whose legacy hung in the balance. As they drove, silence enveloped them, broken only by the hum of the engine and the faint rush of wind. Rachel stole glances at Timothy, his jaw clenched tight. She wanted to ask him about his relationship with Walter, how they'd gotten to this point of estrangement, but now didn't seem like the right time. They arrived at the hospital, its sterile scent flooding Rachel's senses. The social worker at the front desk looked up with an air of weariness. "You must be here for Mr. Ashwood." "Yes, where is he?" Timothy interjected, cutting her off. His urgency didn't go unnoticed, and the social worker's gaze softened at the sight of their concern. "Room 203. But she began, hesitating. "He's been unconscious and isn't there anything that can be done?" Rachel asked, her voice shaking. The social worker looked conflicted, sympathy etched into her features. "We're doing everything we can, but it's difficult." Timothy led the way to the elevator, their footsteps a rapid drum against the tile floor. As they arrived at the second floor, the corridor stretched before them, a lifeline to Walter's room. Rachel's heart raced, all the weight of their collective grief seemed to press on her chest. "Are you ready for this?" Timothy asked, his voice low, a hint of vulnerability breaking through the facade. "No," Rachel replied honestly, "but I have to be." They faced the door to 203, the harsh fluorescent light spilling into the dim hallway. Timothy took a deep breath, and Rachel could see the mix of emotions swirling behind his tough exterior. They were both standing at the edge of the same precipice, clinging to the hope that Walter still had a story left to tell. With a tentative knock, Timothy pushed the door open. The beeping of machines filled the room, a jarring reminder of life teetering on a fragile edge. Walter lay on the bed, frail and still, a stark contrast to the vibrant figure Rachel had come to know through scraps of old letters and hazy recollections. Timothy stepped farther into the room. "Uncle Walter, it's me, Timothy." The name hung heavy in the atmosphere, a bridge reaching across the years of silence. Rachel remained in the doorway, an observer of a reunion she didn't understand but would never forget. As she watched Timothy's posture settle into something that resembled vulnerability, she sensed the underlying currents of forgiveness begging to break through. Would this moment spark an awakening for Walter, perhaps waking up a bond that had long been ghosted by regret? Suddenly, Walter's eyes fluttered, a flicker of consciousness igniting within. Timothy leaned closer, and Rachel held her breath. The air felt electric, a charge of hope that sent chills running down her spine. "Rachel?" Walter's voice was hoarse, barely escaping his lips. "Yes, I'm here," she said softly, stepping forward. "We all are." But just as she spoke, an alarm blared suddenly, and the room filled with stern voices. The faint glow of Walter's recognition dimmed as a team rushed in. Chaos unfolded around her, stealing space for sentiments and truths that desperately wanted to surface. In that fleeting moment, Rachel realized that this was not just about Walter's story, it was about healing generations, breaking barriers once thought unbreakable. Would they find the strength to weave together their narratives before time ran out? Then she spotted Timothy's eyes, filled with determination. "Stay close," he whispered. Urgently, as if they'd fight this battle side by side. Their journey was just beginning, a foray into the tangled web of legacies left behind. Would the truth save them all? The door swung open, and a flurry of medical personnel flooded the room. Rachel stepped back, feeling the moment slip through her fingers like sand. Timothy's eyes darted from the doctor to his uncle, fear gripping his heart as the cacophony of alarms echoed around them. "Get a crash cart," someone shouted, their voice sharp with command. "Assess the vitals," came another voice, heavy with authority. Rachel felt her pulse quicken. The sight of Walter's pale face sent a wave of desperation crashing over her. The machines beeped a frantic rhythm, punctuating the frantic movements around him. In the chaos, Timothy pushed forward, desperation morphing his face. "No! Uncle Walter, stay with us." His voice cracked, a raw plea fought to break through the overwhelming fear. Walter's body lay engulfed in tubes and wires, as if the machines were trying to hold him here, unaware of the battle against time. Rachel's breaths came shallowly, each one laced with an urgency that clawed at her throat. She desperately wanted to reach out, to tell Walter that it wasn't too late, that they were all there to fight for him. Just then, Walter's heart rate began to drop. The doctors worked with a practiced precision, but every second that ticked by felt like a year. A nurse glanced towards Rachel and Timothy, her eyes full of unspoken warning. "Please," Timothy murmured, his voice breaking, "please, come back to us." Rachel felt tears prick at her eyes as she willed it to be true, not just for Timothy, but for the legacy unuttered between them, the stories never shared. In that charged moment, the air between Rachel and Timothy seemed to crystallize, binding them together through the shared turmoil. They stood witness to this terrifying brink where life and death collided, where hope wrestled with despair. After what felt like an eternity, a doctor finally shouted, "Clear." The room fell into silence. Rachel felt her heart stop, holding her breath as she watched the team work tirelessly, electricity coursing through Walter's still body. The sound of the defibrillator cutting through the tension felt like a shot through her own heart. "Come on," Timothy whispered, his hands balled into fists at his side, tension radiating from him. The monitors beeped steadily for a moment before dropping again. Walter was slipping away, and nothing would undo that if they didn't act now. Rachel stepped closer, feeling pulled to the edge of hope. "Walter, if you can hear us, we need you," she said, her voice steady even as she fought against the storm in her chest. "There's so much left to say, so much love to give. Please, come back." Just as she finished, there was a flicker from Walter's eyelids again, a deeper inhalation as if he was finding the strength to return. It was as if he could hear her, as if something connected them across the struggle of life and death. Then, as the alarms blared, Timothy grasped Walter's hand tightly, determined not to let it go. "You can do this. Don't leave us now." The air grew thick with hope, as the medical team continued their efforts. The tension felt palpable, changing the atmosphere in the room. Would Walter's will be strong enough to intertwine their fates, to give that legacy a second chance? As another wave of panic surged through Rachel, a sudden realization struck her. Maybe it was not just Walter who needed saving. Maybe it was all of them. In that moment of revelation, she locked eyes with Timothy. They were fighting for a man, yes, but also for themselves, for their family, and the weight of history they had inherited. Outside the chaos, she could almost hear an echo of laughter, memories of family gatherings and shared stories, waiting to be reignited. "Walter!" Timothy shouted as if his very voice could pull him back from the abyss. And all at once, the energy shifted. The monitors surged, the alarms changing their tune. Could it be? But just then, the banging of a gurney rolling by made Rachel jump, and she turned to see a large figure emerge, a woman with fierce determination etched into her features. The tension didn't just shift, it ignited. "Who is she?" Timothy whispered, eyes widening as he caught sight of the stranger. What secret could she possibly hold? What was about to unfold? The woman strode into the room with a purposeful gait, her dark hair pulled tightly back, offering an air of control amid the chaos. Rachel's heart raced, her eyes darting between the newcomer and the medical team. Who was she, and what role could she possibly play in this unfolding drama? "Move aside," the woman commanded, her voice clear and steady as steel. The nurses and doctors paused, surprise mixing with confusion. Rachel could see apprehension etched in every face, but the stranger's presence cut through the fear like a beacon. Timothy's grip tightened on Walter's hand. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice a mix of defiance and desperation. "I'm Clara," she said, making no effort to mask her intensity. "I'm here to help." She slipped through the gathered medical personnel with ease, her keen eyes assessing the frantic scene in front of her. Timothy hesitated, his instinct to protect almost overpowering his desperation for assistance. But there was something compelling about Clara. A fire burned in her gaze, a determination that sent an electric charge through the room. "Help? We've got this under control," a doctor responded, but his voice wavered slightly as he carried out his duties. Clara didn't falter. You don't understand. I know Walter. I know him better than you do. The room buzzed with tension, the code blue reverberating against the walls as she moved closer to Walter. Rachel exchanged a glance with Timothy, the question hanging heavy in the air. How did this woman know Walter? Walter. Can you hear me? Clara leaned over him, her voice rising above the alarm sounds. I know you're there. I know you've fought your way through pain before. You need to keep fighting. Something flickered in Rachel's chest at her words. Hope? Determination? The urge to believe was almost palpable. Clara wasn't just another face in the frantic atmosphere, she seemed to connect deeply with Walter, her words casting a thread through the tension. As the doctors continued their efforts, their movements more frantic than before, Rachel felt her breath hitch. Could this outsider truly make a difference? She stepped closer, straining to hear Clara's voice through the noise. Uncle Walter, I need you to hear me, Timothy pleaded, his eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears, mirroring Rachel's own vulnerability. We may not have all the time in the world. Clara turned to Timothy, an intensity in her gaze. What matters is now. He needs to know you're here. Tell him something only you two share. Timothy stumbled slightly, caught off guard. What do you mean? Think of a memory, Timothy, Clara urged softly, almost imploringly. Something real. Something that will make him fight. Timothy swallowed hard, his memories flooding back like an overwhelming tide. The fishing trip, he whispered, eyes locked onto Clara's face, where they lingered longer than necessary. He unearthed a fleeting smile before continuing, we almost fell into the lake. He laughed. We had so much fun that day. Uncle Walter always said it was the best fishing trip ever. The atmosphere shifted again. Clara nodded as if Timothy's words were a talisman. Yes. Good. Now say it louder, let him hear your love. Timothy took a deep breath, the words tumbling free from his lips with newfound strength. Uncle Walter. Remember that trip? It was the best ever. We can have more. There's so much left to share. We need you. I need you. There was a moment of silence, the machines continued their frantic beeping, but within it hung a suspended breath. Could Walter actually hear them? Clara's eyes softened, focusing wholly on the man she fought for. Just as hope ignited in Rachel's chest, the monitors fluctuated violently, a pulse racing across the screen. What's happening? Timothy asked, panic tinged with hope gripping his voice. Stay with us. Clara shouted, reaching gently for Walter's face, brushing back the hair from his forehead as if to channel her strength into his fragile body. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance, but inside that room, time suspended. Could it be that this woman, this passionate stranger, could touch the heart of a man on the brink of slipping away? As tensions escalated, Timothy's phone buzzed in his pocket, but he didn't notice. All attention remained locked on Walter and the woman who might be the tipping point between life and death. Just as Clara prepared to call out again, another figure entered the room, a man casting a long shadow, his expression grim, as if expecting the worst. Call in the specialists. We might not have long, he said, his voice low but commanding. Rachel's heart sank. Was it a last-ditch effort? Or was this man a new player in a game of dire consequences? What could he possibly add to the desperate situation unfolding? And more importantly, would Walter still be there to hear it? Clara's voice cut through the rising tension like a knife. No. We can't give up on him. She leaned in closer to Walter, her resolve unwavering even as the room seemed to darken around them. Timothy's heart raced, fear waging war with the glimmer of hope ignited by Clara. He could feel the weight of each second pressing down on him. Walter, please. We're fighting for you. His voice cracked, but he forcefully kept going, drawing strength from Clara's fiery spirit. The medical team communicated in terse whispers, their urgency compounding as they maneuvered around Clara. The grim man who had just entered the room watched, his eyes scrutinizing, as if he was calculating every move. Rachel could sense the worry in his stance. Who was he? Clara seemed to instinctively dismiss him, focusing solely on Walter. Right now, I need you to fight for that laughter, for the fishing trip, for the days you haven't lived yet. Walter, we're all here. Clara's hand rested firmly on Walter's pulse, her brow furrowed with concentration, as if she could will his heart back to life. For a heartbeat, time felt suspended. Then the monitor emitted a sharp beep, and Clara's gaze snapped back to the screen, a flicker of panic in her eyes. Rachel's stomach dropped. Was it too late? That's it, Walter. Stay with us. Clara pleaded, her voice rising over the chaos. Uncle Walter, remember how we caught that giant bass? Timothy was practically shouting now, desperate to reach that flickering thread of consciousness. You can't leave us now. I need you to teach me how to cook it the right way. We've got so much more to do. Rachel leaned closer, her eyes darting between Timothy and Walter. She could feel the raw emotion in Timothy's pleas. She wanted to believe, to anchor her faith in the connection between them, even when logic fell away. The medical staff worked with an intensity that was both fierce and exasperated, their tools gliding over Walter's body, but Clara remained fixed on him like a lighthouse amidst a storm. The seconds stretched, and panic threatened to boil over. Come on, Walter. You're stronger than this. Clara squeezed his hand gently, coaxing him back, pulling memories from the depths of his mind. Believe in the love that binds us. Remember your family. Remember us. Another beep, this time sharper, echoing through the room as Walter's pulse briefly steadied, then faltered. Clara's heart raced. Someone get me in 4-line, stat. A nurse rushed to follow this command, but Clara wasn't done. Push harder on his chest if you have to. Stay with me, Walter. We want to let you go. Just then, Rachel noticed that the man who had come in earlier was now moving toward the medical team, his expression serious. Time is running out, he warned, his gaze darting from the monitors to Walter's diminishing color. Who are you? Rachel breathed out, finally breaking her silence as frustration and confusion mingled inside her. He met her gaze. I'm here to bring him back. That's all you need to know. As Clara called out once more, Walter's eyes fluttered open, just for a moment, almost imperceptible. Uncle Walter. Timothy cried, tears flowing freely now. If you can hear me, give us a sign, anything. That flicker flashed across his face, but then the monitors screamed a protest, and Rachel's breath hitched again. Clara's hands remained steady, focused, as she tried to encourage Walter back to consciousness. Stay with us, Walter, she said, her voice low and steady but filled with urgency. We need your light, don't fade away. Suddenly, as if battling against the weight of the world pressing down on him, Walter's fingers twitched ever so slightly. The tension in the room shifted, the air crackling with possibility. Just when everyone thought they had reached the end, a spark flickered. Was he coming back? But any hope would be short-lived when the man stepped even closer, determination etched deep into his brow. If we don't get results, he hesitated, his voice hardening, I'll do whatever it takes. We need to shock him back hard now. Now? Rachel gasped, uncertainty piercing through her newfound hope. What drastic measures would they take? Timothy's heart raced as Clara's intense gaze met the man's, fear mingling with an unheard challenge. Would this decision bring Walter back, or would it push him further away? In that moment, everything hung in the balance: life, death, and the secret that could change everything. But what would it take to bring him back for good? Clara's heart thundered as she locked eyes with the determined man. She felt the room swirl around her, the beeping monitors like a frantic heartbeat echoing their collective anxiety. What do you mean by shock him back? What are you planning to do? She demanded, her voice steady but laced with urgency. He narrowed his eyes at her, assessing her resolve. We have little time and even fewer options. If he is going to respond, it's now or never. The words hurt like a blow. Clara looked back at Walter, so still, his skin pale, the warmth of his presence slipping through their fingers like sand. She couldn't grasp the thought of losing him. We've come this far, we can't let him go now. Timothy stood frozen, fear mixed with confusion swirling in his chest. What if it hurts him? We can't just what if he... His voice broke, and the weight of his words hung in the air. Enough. The man's sharp command shook them from their spiraling thoughts. I know it's a lot to ask, but I promise we wouldn't do this if we didn't believe it would help. I need your consent. Clara felt a tide of emotions crash over her: fear for Walter, anger at the man's casual determination, and a desperate kind of hope. Yes. Just do it. But please, just bring him back, she stammered, the flicker of Walter's fingers still fresh in her mind. As the man turned to the medical staff, he snapped orders, and they moved quickly, setting up equipment, their movements sharp and practiced. The air crackled with electric tension, and the room felt alive, pulsing with the need for action. Clear. He called out, stepping back as the team braced Walter's motionless body. Clara held her breath, her whole world reducing to this moment. Timothy squeezed her hand. He can do this, he whispered, though uncertainty laced his tone. He has to. Walter, please, Clara murmured, tears pooling in her eyes as she remembered laughs shared and lessons learned. The machine whirred to life with a sudden intensity, and Clara's heart raced as they prepared for the shock. A jolt of electricity surged through Walter's body, lifting him slightly from the bed. The sound of the monitors intensified, and for a brief moment, Clara thought she saw a flicker of life in Walter's chest. Again. The man shouted, and they repeated the procedure. Each shock fired off another jolt of hope, electrifying the atmosphere with a desperate kind of urgency. Clara leaned closer. Stay with us, Walter. She cried, her voice infused with all the love she could muster. We're not done with you yet. But then, the monitors began to ping in a staccato rhythm, the beeping speeding, the display flashing red. A panic surged through the room, palpable and thick. The medical team rushed to stabilize him as Clara's heart sunk deeper. Come on, Walter. Timothy shouted again, echoing Clara's desperate pleadings. The man stepped back, observing the frantic activity, his brow furrowed with frustration and focus. Hold him steady. We need to try again. We aren't giving up. Teetering on the edge of despair, Clara found herself staring at the man. Who are you? How do you know what to do? I told you, he replied sharply. I'm here to bring him back. His determined gaze met hers, and for a moment, she felt as if time had paused. Could this man really be their last hope? Was it truly possible? A deep breath caught in Clara's throat as she stared at Walter once more. Fight for us, she murmured, her words like a soft prayer, and in that moment, she felt something shift within the air, a subtle promise laced with the electric tension of life. A few more seconds the man urged, and Clara felt every beat of her heart, every memory flickering through her mind. This was it. It had to be enough, then, just as despair threatened to latch on, the monitor let out a sudden, unexpected beep, a sign of life. Walter's eyelids flickered again. He's coming back. Timothy gasped, pieces of hope igniting in their fragile hearts. But even with that spark, doubt lingered. What if he was fighting for something they didn't understand? What if they found something darker waiting? When he returned? Clara's heart beat wild in her chest. Had they unleashed something more than hope? As she leaned in closer, urging Walter to hold on to life, she whispered, "Please, we need you, but who will you be when you come back?" And in that moment, their reality teetered dangerously close to an unknown fate. The room dulled as Clara's breath caught in her throat. Walter's eyelids fluttered again, and though the moment felt electric, it was also terrifying. Was he truly coming back? Or was this just some cruel trick of fate? Clara leaned closer, a mixture of anxiety and hope fluttering in her chest. She watched his chest rise just a little more, and the machines that had been a soundtrack of despair now shifted into something almost melodic. She reached out, brushing her fingers against his cheek, willing him to feel her warmth. "Wake up, Walter, please. I'm right here." Timothy, still clutching her hand, leaned in watching, his own breaths quickening. "Come on, man. Fight. We believe in you." His voice trembled with every word, matching the shaky rhythm of the machines. "Clear." The man barked again, snapping Clara from her deep focus on Walter. The medical staff tightened their grip, readying for possibly another shocking attempt. She held her breath, the very air around them thick with desperation. The electricity pulsed through Walter once more, and a synchrony of anxious breaths filled the room. In that unforgettable moment, when the sparks lit up Walter's still body, Clara's heart threatened to shatter with the weight of their shared hope. But it quickly became apparent that Walter's journey back wasn't as straightforward as they all wished. His small movements soon gave way to erratic paroxysms. Thousands of emotions swirled behind his still closed eyes. Clara's heart sank as she sensed something dark behind the moments of light. "Stay with us, Walter. Please," she pleaded through her tears, fingers tracing the outline of his jaw as if she could somehow summon his soul back. "You know we need you." Silence filled the room, thick and cumbersome, allowing Clara's pulse to thunder in her ears. Then, without warning, the beeping accelerated again, an urgent alarm that sent shockwaves of panic through her veins. "What is happening?" She screamed, scrambling to keep her voice from shaking. The man barked orders, and chaos erupted once more. "We need to stabilize him now. Keep him calm." But Walter's body was betraying him, twisting and jerking in ways that sent cold fear gripping Clara's heart. She exchanged a worried glance with Timothy, who looked just as bewildered, fear etched heavily across his young features. "Is it supposed to be like this?" Timothy stammered, gripping Clara's hand tighter. "I don't know." Clara gasped, feeling the walls around them close in. "Walter. Just fight it. Come back to us." Her voice cracked, and despite the backdrop of medical machinery, she felt utterly alone. As if he heard her, Walter's eyes shot open, but what she saw left her breathless. The light in them wasn't entirely the warmth she remembered. There was an intensity there, something raw and palpable that made the hair on her neck stand up. For a moment, she thought she glimpsed something monstrous lurking beneath the surface, a flicker too profound to comprehend. He was back, yes, but at what cost? The man stepped closer, studying Walter intently, as if he was trying to decipher a complex equation unfolding before them. "Hold him steady. We need to know where he is at mentally." "Walter." Clara cried out, her voice a choked whisper, "Can you hear me? Please, come back to us." But as she locked eyes with him, the connection felt tenuous. Was the person she cherished truly behind that gaze? She felt herself trembling, torn between relief and a growing, deep-seated dread. "Who are you? What are you?" As Walter's grip tightened on the bed, the monitors screamed, and everyone in the room tensed, caught between hope and fear. She couldn't shake the feeling that something more than their lives hung in the balance. As the uncertainty hovered, a cold dread took root in Clara's heart. What had they awakened in Walter? What secrets had they uncovered, and what darkness might they have unleashed? And buried beneath her rising panic was a whisper of foreboding. Would they still recognize the man when he returned? Clara's heart raced as she stared into Walter's eyes. Those familiar depths of brown now looked turbulent, swirling with unspoken secrets and shadows. She wanted to reach him, to scream for him to come back, but the air in the room felt heavy, as if it wrapped around her throat, squeezing the words back down. "Talk to me, Walter," she managed, her voice shaky. "We've been through so much together. You can beat this. You can come back. There was a flicker of recognition in his gaze, a moment where she thought he was truly present, but it vanished like smoke. With every twitch of his body, an insistent pulse surged through the monitors, drowning out her pleas. Stay with us. Stay with me, Clara urged, her hand trembling as she held onto him, wishing desperately that she could pull him toward her, away from the abyss. Timothy's eyes were wide, tears pooling there as he searched for answers that no one could provide. What's happening to him? The rawness in his voice made Clara's chest tighten. I don't, she gasped, battling the rising tide of dread. Then, she noticed a flicker of movement in Walter's hand, fingers curling and uncurling as if they were trying to grasp onto something invisible. Walter. Please. Squeeze my hand if you can hear me. To Clara's astonishment, the faintest pressure built under her fingers. The moment felt monumental, like a bridge spanning the depths of uncertainty. Good. That's good. Timothy shouted, his enthusiasm infectious for a brief moment. You're coming back to us, buddy. We're right here. Just keep fighting. But then, without warning, Walter's body convulsed violently, and panic washed over them anew. The doctors had been holding steady, but now they rushed around in a frenetic dance, igniting the sterile room with chaos again. We need sedation, now. One shouted, and Clara's heart plummeted. Sedate him? She echoed, piecing together the possibilities in a haze of fear. It felt as if they were teetering on a knife's edge, and she didn't want Walter to slip back into the dark, even temporarily. No, please, just give him a moment. Clara. Timothy cried, pleading with her. His young face was a mirror of her torment. What if he doesn't come back? The sharp lines of the room began to blur, her vision fogging up with emotions that threatened to spill over. He will. She choked out, firming her resolve for Timothy, and for Walter. He has to. Then, as if their fervent hope was enough to penetrate the chaos, Walter's body fell still. For a moment, the room quieted, the sound of machinery humming softly despite the tension hanging in the air. Clara's heart stuttered painfully, lodged in her throat. Walter, she whispered again, and just when despair threatened to engulf them, she saw at the faint curling of his lips, almost as if he was trying to smile. Clara. The whisper barely escaped his lips, but it shattered through the tension like glass. She leaned closer, breath hitching in her chest. Yes, it's me. I'm here. Tears streamed down her face, mixing hope and fear with every heartbeat. Just keep talking to me. What do you want? What do you need? Darkness, he murmured, eyes flickering as if he were fighting something beyond their reach. The truth weighed heavily on them, a shroud of unsettling dread. I can feel it, then fight it. She urged, desperation lacing her tone. We're right here with you. We're not leaving. Walter's eyes shifted, and for a heartbeat, she thought she saw something. Maybe even recognition. But it was quickly swallowed by the encroaching shadows. He was battling a war neither she nor Timothy could see, and she realized that the stakes were so much higher than she understood. Please help me. The words escaped him like a ghost, and Clara felt them pierce through her chest, igniting a sense of purpose. Stay with us, she urged, holding Timothy's hand tightly as they faced this collective battle for a man who was so much more than a heartbeat on a monitor. We won't let you go. We love you. And deep inside, a thought clawed its way to the surface. What if the darkness lurking within him wasn't just a side effect of whatever had happened? What if it was something deeper, something born of secrets that had festered through years he hadn't shared with anyone? As Walter's grip on her hand pulsed weakly, the machines began to hiss and buzz with erratic life once more. Clara's chest tightened with every heartbeat, a chilling realization creeping in. If she was to help him, she would need to understand the truth. Would she be prepared for what lay ahead, hidden behind the eyes of the man she loved? Clara felt the weight of the moment pressing against her, the tension in the room thick like fog. Walter's whispered plea lingered in the air, wrapping around them all. She could feel the urgency radiating from Timothy, whose hands trembled as he held tightly to hers. They were collectively suspended in this moment of desperation and determination, a bridge between two worlds colliding. "Don't let go, Walter," Clara urged, her voice steady in the face of chaos. The medical team continued their frantic choreography, their expressions etched with concern. But in the midst of it, Clara found a flicker of hope. It was within their grasp, a light attempting to break through the storms of despair. Timothy leaned closer, his eyes searching Walter's face for any sign of recognition. "You're stronger than this. Remember our family? The laughter, the fishing trips, all the lessons you taught us." His voice broke, but the intensity behind his words could warm the coldest heart. "We need you here. I need you." In that instant, a flicker of light sparked within Walter's eyes. It was imperceptible, but it pulsed with a life that drove Clara's heart wild with hope. "Yes. Fight for us," she urged again, squeezing his hand tighter. The connection was palpable, an invisible thread binding their souls together, fighting against the encroaching shadows that threatened to consume them. The machines around them blared warnings, but Clara's focus was single-minded. "Walter, when this is all over, we'll go back to the lake, you and I. We'll catch the biggest fish, and I'll learn how to cook it your way. Just come back to us." The words poured out, a desperate vow laced with sincerity. Timothy's eyes filled with tears, his voice breaking. "You promised, remember? Family sticks together." Suddenly, Walter gasped, his body jerking as if awakening from a long slumber. Clara's breath hitched, she willed him to listen. "Walter!" she shouted, a waterfall of emotion crashing down around them. "Stay with us. You have so much left to say, so many stories to share. We need you." Then, chaos exploded in the room. The medical team rallied around Walter, moving swiftly to assess his reaction to Clara and Timothy's heartfelt pleas. The man orchestrating the effort barked orders, his expression somber yet alive with determination. Clara's heart raced, she desperately hoped they were on the brink of a breakthrough. "Walter, fight against the darkness. Remember the love, the laughter. Your legacy lives in us." Clara called, and with every ounce of conviction she could muster, she infused her voice with every shared memory, every fishing trip and family gathering that reflected the bond they shared. For a split second, Walter's eyes widened, and he seemed to connect directly with Clara. A fleeting moment flickered between them, the warmth of familiarity weaving through the tension. "Clara." His voice was weaker, yet filled with a spark of recognition. "Yes, it's me," she cried, tears spilling over in her relief as hope surged anew. "We're right here. Make the choice to come back. You're not alone." But then, the shadow shifted again, and Walter's face contorted. The lights above flickered, and Clara felt the tenuous grip they had on hope slipping as uncertainty clawed at her soul. "Please, Walter, don't leave us again," she begged, instinctively drawing even closer, her forehead almost touching his. "Timothy." Walter's voice struggled to reach them, fragile yet poignant. "Help me." I feel the ominous buzz of the machines reflected his struggle, each beep resonating with the urgency radiating in the air. Timothy squeezed Clara's hand tighter, in affirmation of their shared journey. They wouldn't let him go, not now, not when they were so close. "Clara." The man interjected, urgency thickening his voice, drawing their attention. "We need to stabilize him, fast." He stepped forward, assessing Walter with stoic resolve. Clara turned, spotting the flicker of fear in Timothy's expression. "No. We can't give up on him." She felt the surge of emotions rushing through her. "We'll keep fighting for him. Together." The man's eyes softened slightly, as if recognizing the bond they shared. "Then we fight," he shouted, his voice galvanizing the medical team into action. Prepare for one more shock, put everything else aside. Clara nodded, her heart soaring again with hope and determination. She leaned closer once more. Walter, you're not just a heartbeat. You are loved. We need you here, please, come back to us. The team sprang into action, and followed the man's lead. Clara held her breath, drowning in the tidal wave of urgency swirling around them. Clear! He shouted, and the sound echoed in Clara's ears as the defibrillator surged through Walter's still form. The air crackled, filled with energy, they all held their breaths, waiting. Would this finally be enough? Then, almost like a miracle, Walter's eyes fluttered once more. No darkness help me, he gasped, his voice barely a whisper yet filled with clash and turmoil. The battle not just for breath, but for something else, something deeper. Clara felt a chill creep in, the words leaving her throat like an uninvited visitor. Walter, stay with us. You're stronger than the darkness. Remember the light. Remember us. But the fight was raging within him, shadows threatening to wane into darkness that seemed ever expanding. She shared a quick glance with Timothy, both of them steeling themselves to overcome whatever battle lay ahead. Then Walter's hand squeezed hers with newfound pressure. Fight, he murmured, and that single word filled the room with a powerful vibrance. Fight. That's it, Walter. You can do this. Clara shouted, courage rising in her chest at the flicker of hope that illuminated the darkness around them. And with that, she understood. This wasn't just about Walter's life hanging by a thread, it was about their destiny interwoven with his legacy, their shared journey to redefine what was possible in the chapters to come. A resolute promise echoed in Clara's heart: they would not only fight for Walter, they would forge a new path forward, a path marked with understanding, healing, and shared strength. But they needed to acknowledge those shadows, only then would his legacy endure, illuminating their lives and their dreams like stars breaking through the night. The tension in the air began to shift, and Clara and Timothy leaned in closer, preparing to unearth the depth of Walter's pain with love and compassion. This was the true battle, a journey that transcended life and death, illuminating the importance of the stories carried in the hearts of those who love. As the alarms echoed around them, the world outside melted away, and in that moment, bathed in the fragility of light, Clara and Timothy held on to hope, the strongest lifeline they could offer. Would Walter seize this moment to step back into the light? Would they emerge from the shadows together, forever changed yet bound by love and determination? Only time would tell, but they were ready to fight for whatever awaited on the other side. And thus, the journey began, a new beginning inked with hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, love remains a powerful force that can bridge any divide. As Walter's fight for his life continued, Clara, Timothy, and the family that had once felt distant, found their own transformation in the battle, a transformation that would ripple out into their community, igniting the flame of resilience. So let the stories be told, for they are crafted from struggle and triumph, illuminating the beauty of the connections that blanket this tapestry of lives intertwined. And in this pivotal moment, the legacy of Walter Ashwood, the lives he impacted, would echo far beyond the confines of the hospital walls, reminding everyone that in life's greatest trials, there lies a beautiful tapestry of resilience, connection, and above all, hope. Ladies and gents, this is the moment you need to seize. Subscribe immediately to the channel if you haven't. Don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes all the difference. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this dynamic ending. We want to hear from you, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to share the love now, don't wait not even one more second. Only the true fans understand the power of supporting the channel through these simple actions. Let us uplift each other together.